And I was taken aback immediately by the beauty of this place. When they say, welcome home, sister.
Yeah.
Even though I know they say that now to everybody. And so, but it just hit me differently.
Sure.
Like, I'm home.
Yeah.
I believe that everybody has a calling to come home.
Okay.
I believe that every Black American that was taken from this land, the call to come back home is always there in every Black American. I believe that. I don't care what anybody says. I've met too many people, and our stories are all the same. I believe that some Black Americans kind of like, no, that's not for me.
Yeah.
I'm not African. Those people are unlike me or whatever. But I believe that call is still there. It's a longing for you just to touch your feet on this soil.
Boom! What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. My name is Joannis or Joe Hatagwa. I'm a Sierra Leonean American living here in West Africa. And if you want to know why an African American would leave America and a government job to move to Sierra Leone to run a hotel, then this is the video for you. All right, so today we are talking to Dori, and she's gonna tell us about her leave from America to Sierra Leone. As an African American woman who had a job in government, why she would leave her job and move to run a hotel in Sierra Leone. She's gonna tell us how she found love. She's gonna tell us what it's been like running the hotel, what kind of a culture shock that's been for her, and everything associated with running a business in Sierra Leone. So without further ado, let's get right into it.
What's up, guys? I'm back in Sierra Leone, and we're here with authentic African entrepreneurs. I'm here with Dori Massey-Turay, the owner or co-owner of Stafford Lodge, as you can see on the shirt. And we're gonna do a tour of Stafford Lodge in a moment, but I really wanted to get the story behind Stafford Lodge and your story. Dori is from the States, and you guys will hear that. Her accent is very American. So we're gonna talk about your journey here and finding love and also building a business. So with that, I'd love to start with your background. Where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in Columbus, Ohio. I left briefly to attend college in Montgomery, Alabama.
Okay.
And I attended a historically Black college, which is known as Alabama State University, Hornets. So other than that, I returned back to Columbus, Ohio. I lived there until I left to come to Sierra Leone in 2009.
Okay, cool. So what did you study in college?
Accounting.
Accounting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you know what you wanted to do when you're going to HBCU, studied accounting? Did you want to be an accountant, or what was your initial plan?
I definitely wanted to be an accountant.
Okay.
I think back in that time when I was in school, you basically chose an occupation based on I'm good in math. I love math.
Okay.
And anybody that knows accounting, it is really not math. I should have probably been like an actuary, a statistician, or something like that.
So you're from Columbus, Ohio, and then but you decided to go to HBCU in Alabama. So what got you to make the decision to go all the way down to Alabama from Columbus, Ohio?
My mother is actually from Anniston, Alabama. She was born in Anniston, Alabama. So as a child, like any other African American family, you would go down south for summers, for Easter break.
Right.
And so I always felt like my soul belonged there.
Okay.
As a young child, my mom thought that was so odd for a kid to say. Why would she say that her soul belongs in Alabama? I've always felt that connection. Whenever I went there, I just felt like this is where I belong.
Okay.
So fast forward to the time for me to go to college, I had a good friend, and her mom had graduated from Alabama State. And so she was going to Alabama State. So I was like, okay, well, I always wanted to go to Alabama. This is my opportunity. And to go there was definitely, looking back on it now, it's just basically foreshadowing for my life. I mean, if you think about the Benmore Hotel in Montgomery, Alabama, where it was down the street from Martin Luther King's house in Montgomery, Alabama. And it was where Dr. King, Abernathy, people that would come in to help with the civil rights movement came to the Benmore Hotel. And so is it kind of brings it full circle to now at Stafford Lodge, and so many Black Americans that come to Sierra Leone for the first time, they find us and we do meetings and we brainstorm with each other, because it's like that, you know, because there's no other that I'm aware of Black American owned, co-owned with my husband that is here in Sierra Leone. So I don't know, it's just kind of, to me, symbolic and full circle of that moment in my life. And I did learn a lot being at the historically Black college that was not basically taught to me in Columbus, Ohio.
And so you moved back to Columbus, you stayed there for a while, and then you went from Columbus to, you got here in Sierra Leone in 2019. What prompted the move to Sierra Leone? How does that happen? Where did that come into play?
I believe that everybody has a calling to come home. I believe that every Black American that was taken from this land, the call to come back home is always there in every Black American. I believe that. I don't care what anybody says. I've met too many people and our stories are all the same. I believe that some Black Americans kind of like, no, that's not for me. I'm not African. Those people are unlike me or whatever. But I believe that call is still there. It's a longing for you just to touch your feet on this soil, right? So I wasn't that person. I was the person that had the call, heard the call, and was like, So let's fast forward to 2009. I have two older kids, and we were out one day with my nephews and at a mall. I met my husband at that mall, and when I met him, it was just surreal, because when he came up to me with like a crazy line, like, "Do I know you?" And so I started laughing at him because I can tell by his accent that he's African. You know how Black people put everybody in one category, African. And so I said to myself, like, no, African, you don't know me. You know, just laughing. And so then he had some glasses on, and my husband has beautiful eyes. So when he took his glasses off, I said, oh, God done sent me Idris Elba. Because I love Idris Elba. So from that day, May 2nd, 2009, me and my husband have not parted. We have been together that day since. So he told me he was from Sierra Leone. He told me he had a hotel. And I was like, okay, so what? I was a tax auditor. I worked for the government. I had a good job. I had a really, really good job. And so I had no desire to leave America. I guess I was under the illusion that I have everything here. Why would I want to go anyplace else? I had no desire. And I would honestly say, up until the point where I met my husband, I never even heard of Sierra Leone. And the stuff that you did hear about Sierra Leone was negative. So to say that I would have moved there in 2009, or that was my desire, it wasn't. So when he told me he had a hotel, I said, that's fine. And I honestly didn't care. I mean, I cared, but I didn't, you know? I was like, oh, that's cute. And it's, you know, it's a good talking point to say, oh, yeah, we have a hotel in Sierra Leone, West Africa. But never had the intention to go there. 2010, we married. 2011, we had our daughter together. 2012, we brought our first home together. So from probably 2012, the honeymoon era was over. And so it was like all of our money, everything was coming here to this hotel. And anybody that has a business knows that just because you're not there, the expenses and everything still happens. Even though we may not be at full capacity, we still have to send money for the generator, diesel, salaries, food. So it was always something that we had to send money here. So it was like we were solely working just to support Stafford Lodge. We was barely seeing each other. So you just put all of that into a bucket. My parents, next year, they'll celebrate their 50th wedding anniversary. And so my ideal family was not what I was seeing.
Okay.
He was working all the time, so we were barely seeing each other because he didn't have any loans. We didn't have anything like that. It was just him working and funding it, us funding the hotel, something that we was not receiving, the benefit back from. So probably, I would say, maybe 2017, 2018. By this time, our daughter is 6. I'm thinking to myself, like, something has to give.
Sure.
This is not working. So I had talked to one of my good friends that I work with named Casey Thompson.
Okay.
And she said, have you ever asked your husband what was his intention before he met you, before you had your daughter, Destiny? What was his intention for this building? So I went home, I asked Desmond, I said, hey, I had a question. What was your intention? What was your intention with this hotel, right? And it was like a bulb went off in his head. He was so excited to tell me what was his dream before he met me. So before he met me, he felt like, okay, he would work a little, come and stay. Work a little, come and stay. Work a little. But his intention was never to sit there the way that he did. And
in the States.
Okay. And not come and see about his property.
Right.
He kind of felt like he didn't want to leave us behind because we are a family.
Right.
And he didn't want to come and sit for 6 months because he knew I definitely would not have went for that.
Right.
So instead of him coming like he should have to check on his property, he was maybe coming every 3 years.
Okay.
And anybody knows as a business owner, you cannot operate a property. I just felt like, okay, well, if that's your intention, then that's what we are going to do.
Right.
So I started, because I am a Virgo and everything has to be organized in a way. I just started planning, okay, well, we need to pay this off. If we are going to go, we need to be as close to debt-free as possible.
Okay.
So we just started putting a plan into place. I can't remember if it's 2017 or 18 that this conversation occurred, but I know December 28th, 2018, I resigned from my job of 13 years from the Department of Taxation as a tax auditor.
Okay.
Remember, I had a good job.
Right. Yeah.
We put a plan into place where first, I've never been to Sierra Leone, not once up until that time.
Okay.
So from 2009 until the first time that I left my job, I had never been to Sierra Leone.
Wow.
Because I knew that was his dream. Anybody that knows my husband, you know what he poured into this building.
Right.
His blood, sweat, and tears is literally into this building. He poured everything into this building. Sacrificed so much. And so for me to sit there and not resign from my job, but to have my job on a back burner to be like, okay, if it doesn't work, then I have this to fall back on. No, I wanted to cut all bridges because at this point, it had to work.
Right.
Because this is his dream. And I believe the way that he worked and fought for this dream, because so many times I'm skipping over so much. I wanted him to sell it. I wanted him to rent it. Anything, get rid of it because it's causing us so many issues. And just imagine if you didn't have it, the amount of money we would have in our lives, right?
Okay.
And so for me to get to that point was, no, we're going to do it. I felt like if we weren't going to do it correctly, we should not do it at all. So yes, I resigned from my job. And so 2018, we were ready. December 28th, I was ready. We had our tickets. I had my visa to come to Sierra Leone. Everything was good. I think I was set to fly out December 31st, 2018.
Okay.
And I tell anybody, whenever you have a plan, I think it's some type of quote that they say, if you have a plan, God laughs at the plan, right? So I'm afraid to fly. I don't like it. I'm not into it.
Okay.
So I had not flown since September 11th.
September 11th.
Yeah, since 9/11. I
Wow.
had not flown since then.
2001.
Yes. So just the thought of me flying the 20 hours or whatever it was at that time to come here was just a whole nother mountain in itself.
Right.
So anyway, I didn't want to fly from Columbus, then had to fly to JFK, fly from Columbus to JFK, fly to Brussels, and then Freetown. Those are too many stops.
Right.
So it made me feel better to be able to drive from Ohio to New York.
Okay.
It was a great ride.
Okay.
We listened to Lucky Dubé all the way. Everything was good.
Okay.
Got to the counter because once again they deterred, in my opinion, deterred Black Americans from returning. So I had signed up with the STEP program.
Okay.
With the United States Embassy.
Okay.
And they had sent out an alert the night before saying like, hey, don't walk around with your passports. Make sure you have a copy of your passport.
Okay.
I'm already nervous because, like I said, I haven't flown since 2001.
Right.
And so they want you now to have a copy of your passport. So I'm just trying to do everything right because they really scare Black Americans from returning to Africa. We have been told so many things that we're not loved here, that they sold us. We're just not welcomed here.
Right.
So as some Black Americans, not all, we have a fear of returning,
sure.
right? And I was one of the ones that was in the category of a fear of returning, even though I was with my husband from Sierra Leone.
Right.
Anyway, long story short, I make a copy of the passport, put Desmond's in a suitcase, copy mine, take my copy, and leave my passport on the copier machine in Columbus, Ohio. So at this point, we don't want to change 2 tickets.
Right.
I'm afraid to fly. So now I'm going to have to take this leg of this journey by myself. I am forced to go by myself. So Desmond goes ahead to Sierra Leone. This is, I think, it was New Year's Eve. Because I had to walk back through Times Square to get to the bus station to stay with my daughter in Philadelphia.
Okay.
The next Brussels flight, I think, might have came like January the 3rd, because they had to FedEx my passport to me from Ohio, get it, and then I could check into my flight.
Okay.
So, once again, looking back on it, I really feel like at that time that it would, because it was so foreshadowing to let me know that I can go this leg by myself.
Okay.
Because I was going to have to fly from America to Sierra Leone several times by myself with my child.
Okay.
Without my husband, just me and my child. So I think at that time it was letting me know, like, hey, don't be afraid. This is something that you can do by yourself. So the very first time that I landed in Sierra Leone, I think my husband just said was January 3rd, 2019, is when I arrived here, safe and sound. I think like any African American coming home for the very first time, I felt it. I felt the familiarity. Even though I did not know it, I felt it in my DNA. I could recognize it. I could recognize the smells, everything. It just felt like the feeling that I felt that very first time. I can't even explain it to you. And then sometimes I think back too, like maybe me leaving my passport and me coming for the first time, that maybe Mama Salone wanted to meet me by myself for the first time.
Sure.
Because if I was with my husband, he would have been so excited, like, do this, you know, He would have just like, you at my house and we're going to do this. But I was able to find my way by myself for the first time meeting her. And I was taken aback immediately by the beauty of this place. When they say, welcome home, sister. Yeah. Even though I know they say that now to everybody. And so, but it just hit me differently. Sure. Like, I'm home. Yeah. Even though I was coming to my husband's country, I felt like I was home. Right. I mean, it was like I think of the song by Regina Belle and People Bryson, A Whole New World. Okay. That song pops in my head so many times. Yeah. Words cannot describe what I saw, what I felt. To fast forward to I had heard so much about the Stafford Lodge hill, the hill to come into Stafford Lodge. Right. We were getting like feedback, and everybody is always referencing the hill. They're afraid to come down the hill. They walk down the hill, whatever. So I saw that for the very first time. Right. And pictures just didn't do our lodge any justice. Sure. It was definitely more beautiful once I saw it in face to face, and I immediately felt at home when I came here. So we came for the first time in January 2019. Like I said, we have a small daughter. And so I wanted to make sure that if I was uprooting her life,
Right.
that I had to have her some type of sense of normalcy.
Right.
So I went to the American school first, trying to put her. I inquired of the American school, and it was kind of way out of our price range.
Sure.
The British Montessori is what we ended up with.
Okay.
It is more within our range.
Sure. Sure.
And I think it's a good fit for her
Okay.
because I could see that there was other kids that were like her,
Right.
where their parents lived abroad, they were here working,
Right.
and so they were kind of all similar in that regard. So I found her at school. I went through Stafford Lodge, and I could see like what I needed when I returned back to the States,
Okay.
what I needed to do,
Okay.
the type of upgrades that we needed. And so I did that. So September 2019
Okay.
was when we finally moved here permanently,
Okay.
and that was September.
You came for the first time in January of 2019. So you spent what, like 9 months here?
So I came here January 2019 for 3 weeks,
Okay.
and we just basically wanted to do like an assessment.
Okay.
Why are people checking in? They're not coming back. What is it? And
Right.
so it gave us an opportunity to find her at school,
Yeah.
find out what we need to bring here,
Right.
and all of that, and then to know that we're coming back in September 2019.
Yeah. After coming back, you obviously were working here at the hotel, but then you started other businesses as well. Can we talk about some of the other businesses that are under the umbrella of, and is it all under the Stafford Lodge umbrella?
Yes.
Okay, so you mentioned you do tours and some other things. Can we talk through what some of that looks like?
Okay, so
Yeah.
September 2019, when I first came here, everything was working good. We had started advertising a little bit more, started picking up. Everybody knows what happened in January 2020.
Right.
My husband, we went home in December, and my husband, for whatever reason, something told him he was not going to come back with me,
Okay.
that he was going to stay back home and work.
Mm.
Because of course, whenever you have a plan, and we thought we had enough money that would at least last us for 2 years.
Right.
But because everything, it just didn't pan out. The
Right.
money that we thought was going to last us for 2 years, it was not.
Right.
So my husband was like, look, you go ahead, let me stay behind. And I was really upset with him because I kept saying like, well, if you look at our bookings, we have enough bookings, we will be okay.
Right.
There's no reason for you to stay. But he was adamant that he was going to stay behind.
Okay. Stay behind here in Sierra Leone.
No, in Ohio.
In Ohio.
Yes.
Okay. And you were.
I had to come to Sierra Leone by
Okay.
myself.
Got it.
Right? So he came with us in September, but when we come back in January after Christmas, he's not coming with us. But when my husband stayed home, that gave me opportunity to go. So if a guest would come down to breakfast in the morning,
Right.
and normally that's how I met the guest. How was your night? How was everything at night? And I would serve breakfast in the morning.
Sure.
And so every guest that came through had this book called Sierra Leone. And they would be like, you know of this place, you know of this place. And half of the places I never even heard of because, one, I'm not coming as a tourist. I'm coming to support my husband,
Right.
period.
Right.
So they would be asking me about certain places. I've always been interested in the African story. I have always been interested in that, right? And so one time somebody said they were going to Buns Island. And I was like, wow, I would like to go. But it was like $65 a person.
Right.
And because once again, they scare us so bad about going anywhere that I knew I was going to have to pay $65 for me. I was going to pay $65 for one of my staff to go because I can't speak the language,
Right.
fluently, and my daughter. So that was like $200. So the guest that I thought was going to go with us, I guess $65 was too much for him too.
Sure.
So he backed out. Like shortly after that, 2 guests came and they were from Germany,
Okay.
Heidi and Emmanuel. She said, I overheard you talking about you wanted to go to Buns. We are here with this group called Couch Surfers.
Okay.
She said they are very unorganized. She said, but everything always works out in the end.
Okay.
She said, so you are more than welcome to come with us. She said it's $150,000 per person, which is the equivalent at that time probably like $15.
Right.
And she said, and they have lunch, and it's going to be just a blast. When I went to Buns Island, the tour guide that they had at the time When I say that this tour guide he was not a good tour guide.
Sure.
And the couch surfers, like they say, were almost like a party group.
Right.
So they wanted to eat. They were jumping in the river. Have you ever been to Bunce?
I have. Yeah, I've done an official tour of Bunce.
Have you ever saw somebody jumping in the river
No.
to swim?
No.
The tour guide said one thing to me, and it just changed my whole perspective.
Okay.
He said, this island where you stand is one of the most important islands as for a Black Americans.
True.
He said because they solely shipped to Georgia and South Carolina.
Yeah.
And that struck me, where I thought to myself immediately, like, oh, my family is from Georgia. They moved from Georgia, they moved to Alabama. Wow, that's crazy. And he said the majority of Black Africans can trace their ancestors' final footsteps to this jetty.
Right.
Period. To this jetty that we no longer use is traced to here.
Right.
What he said, the remaining part of the tour is all over my head.
Right.
I checked some of it was not true, but that part of it, I could kind of like basically verify that.
Right.
And so from that moment on, I said, you know what? We've been lied to as people. There is no reason why, as a Black American, I have never heard of Sierra Leone.
Right.
There's no reason. There's no reason why, as a Black American, you have not heard of Bunce Island.
Sure.
My husband had not even heard of Bunce Island.
Sure.
Why? So when I got home,
Yeah.
I immediately was like, oh, I'm telling everybody.
Yeah.
I'm telling everybody. Because at first, like I said, when my husband was here, I could not go out the way that I went out.
Sure.
So I booked a KK tour. I went on a walking tour downtown.
Sure.
I just did everything because I said, this country is sitting on a gold mine and don't even know it.
Right.
I said, if this was something in America, I said, Bunce Island, you would have reenactments all over Bunce Island. You would have like parts of Bunce Island. They didn't just sell Africans. They just didn't sell Sierra Leonean people there, right? They also sold market goods. People came and trade.
Right.
They did all kinds of things there. So that island would basically be what it was during that time.
Right.
If it was in America. But what I saw was something that was neglected.
Yeah.
You had to use like your imagination to even see like what it was.
Right.
So that's where I said, okay, I'm going to name this tour Salone Hidden Gems.
Okay.
I'm going to have a tour company. But it wasn't even supposed to be like a tour company. It was just supposed to be like, I'm going to do a tour in connection with Stafford Lodge.
Okay.
Right? And I was just going to invite people to come and then they would stay. But around that time, and probably because, like you said, the African Ancestry was doing the passports,
Yep.
that if you were doing any type of African tours, you had to be a tour company. You had to be a registered tour company.
Right. Yeah.
So that's how Salone Hidden Gems came into play. Sierra Leone is known for diamonds.
Right.
And so I felt like there was so many other gems that were just as valuable as the diamonds.
Okay.
So that's why I called it Salone Hidden Gems. We do it all. So like if you want to come here and Sierra Leone also is known for their rainforest. So you have Golden Rainforest, you have OKMP, you have TY Island. So I facilitate those type of tours, hiking, camping, whatever they have it here.
So you do a couple of tours, you do a couple of hikes, and then you have the hotel and the rest of the
and then I also do the passports.
And you do passports as well. One of the questions I get asked all the time is, what are some of the challenges running a business here in Sierra Leone?
One of the biggest challenges with running a business in Sierra Leone is everybody is an expert, but nobody is an expert. I think in the States, we are used to everything being written down, given to us step by step.
Sure.
But you kind of have to fall into things. And so you find yourself bumping your head a lot here. In America, we are always used to them giving you some type of leniency or like forgiveness or something like that. No, not here. That's a challenge.
Okay.
Customer service is a challenge. We say in America, CPT, color people time. Yes. Oh, they take the cake here.
Salone man time.
They take the cake here. I think that was like one of the biggest issues that I have with my husband, his time. Oh my God. Here, I see where it's a habit. I mean, it's normal for them. So, this customer service, period. A lot of times when you go into places in Sierra Leone, I don't think they mean anything by it because the people are beautiful. The people are welcoming. They're loving. They will do anything for you.
Right.
But I think they think that some, not all Sierra Leoneans, but some feel like you should be glad that I got up and decided to come to work today. You the customer, should be happy for me. You should be glad that I could come to work.
Yeah.
Right?
It's like they're doing you a favor. That's how I've always looked at it.
Like you need to be so happy that I decided to get up and come to work today. Customer service, because you can't have a business without having good customer service. And especially people that are coming from overseas where the motto is a customer is always right. And that you go over and beyond the call of duty for your customers, right? Here, not so much.
I mean, on that note, right? So those 3 challenges, what advice would you give to someone who's planning to move to Sierra Leone and start a business?
I would say come. You would have to come here. What type of business are you running? Are you interested in? Try to find people that are already on the ground, that are already into that field.
Right.
That's another thing that I've noticed since being here. It'll be like 50 people doing the same business.
Right.
And then somebody will be like, oh, I'm coming here to start that. Why wouldn't you guys get together, collaborate with each other to make it good, to make it better, right?
So find people on the ground who's doing what you're doing. Collaborate with other people, right? Instead of creating competition, collaborate. Exactly. Especially because the market, right? We have 9 million people in this country, right? So we don't need to have 35 people doing the same thing if we can have one thing that's done really well that can service a larger group of people.
Exactly.
Yeah. So before we started the interview, we talked about the fact that after you had come, you actually did your African ancestry and you traced your lineage back to Sierra Leone. What led you to take the test and what tribe are you from and what came of that?
So in 2021, a group of people, tribe from Timney, had came to our hotel.
Sure.
They found us basically via fluke. Mildred and Dwayne, they had came into our hotel, and I guess where they were staying at before, they weren't happy there.
Okay.
So they ended up leaving that hotel, and they went to another hotel, and then they finally came to my hotel.
Okay.
Because African Americans have a unique name,
sure.
I can spot it, a Black American from a European or a Sierra Leonean.
Right.
So I immediately woke Desmond up because when you book on booking.com, it'll come on my phone. And I was like, hey, Desmond, I said, there's African Americans that are here, right? And so so she came upstairs, I could hear her look at the room, and she said, yes, this is fine. Then I heard them bring her luggage up. After that, I guess she must have went back and told other people because then I got more bookings. Okay. So then the next morning, I got up and I met them at breakfast, and they told me they're here, they're getting their citizenship from the president, and it just sounds great, right? I have never been moved to get the African Ancestry test because of the price.
Sure.
And I always felt like, okay, as a Black American, I know that my ancestor was stolen somewhere in Western Africa.
Right.
If I want a passport, I can get it through my husband, so why would I pay that amount to find out where I'm from? With this group, they took me to the African Ancestry cocktail party.
Okay. At
the cocktail party, I met Dr. Gina Page.
Okay.
And they introduced her to me, and so I was telling her, I said, well, I've already taken Ancestry.com, and I know I'm like 99% African. It's basically saying I'm from Nigeria. And she was like, okay, well, everybody is from Nigeria. And she was like, you will want to know your tribe.
Right.
I think you would want to know where your ancestor came from. And if it's your maternal, you would want to know where that maternal DNA is coming from. You would want to know that. And so I was like, So I went, I paid my money, and I would say that was in April of 2021. Okay. So I've been here for 2 years now. August 2021, I got my certificate, and it said that I am I am a descendant of a woman from Sierra Leone, Mende tribe, 100%.
Massey-Turay, nice. I'm half Massey, so Massey family. Okay, cool.
And my husband's
And your husband's Simbi, all right. And what is your native name? You were given a native name during this process, right?
Mommy Lumbe Tibi.
Mame Lumbe Tibi. Nice.
And Lumbe means the one that never dies. It's different meanings, but the way that I'm walking, the way that I feel spiritually connected here, when they said the one that never dies, I just felt like I'm returned. That my spirit won't die, that I'm just in another form and I have returned back to my ancestral. So I thought that name, when they named me that, that was my interpretation of it. Some people have different interpretations, but that's mine. So
the last thing is, where can people find Stafford Lodge physically and online?
Stafford Lodge, you can find us online at staffordlodgefreetown.com. Physically, we are in Freetown, which is the main city of Sierra Leone, the capital. Thank you. Capital city of Sierra Leone. If you know where the U.S. Embassy is, we're directly across from the embassy. If you know where the Orange headquarters is, we are probably like maybe a block up from going towards Lester Peak.
Yeah, that'll all be in the description below. The address and the ways that you can book. Okay. And of course, the social media channel. That'll all be in the description below. Okay. Well, Dori, I want to thank you for doing this. Do we want to get Desmond in here for 2 seconds?
Come on.
I do want to get Desmond in for 2 seconds because Desmond is the other half of the Stafford Lodge ownership. Well, you know, Desmond, we didn't get the origin story of Stafford Lodge. So I learned about Stafford Lodge through Dori's eyes and when she got here. So you and we talked about it was like your dream to be able to go and come. But when did you officially open Stafford Lodge?
Well, it's actually officially opened in 2016 February.
Okay.
Valentine's Day.
Okay.
That's when it's officially opened.
Okay. Wait, how long did you start like the building process and all of that? Like when did that start?
Well, actually groundbreaking was December of 2004.
Wow. Okay.
That's when the groundbreaking came into effect.
Okay, so 5 years later, you guys met. Okay, and then
I was just in the process of working on the building.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
And so you worked on that all the way through, and then 10 years after you guys met,
that's when it's officially
open. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I just have to ask this question. I know it's kind of random, and we haven't prepared for it. But since you mentioned it, what made you walk up to her when you were in the mall?
Great.
Because she mentioned that she was just in the mall and you just walked up to her, right?
Tell your story.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you mean tell your story? I mean, the thing is, I was shopping actually.
Okay.
I went there and I was about to come to Africa. Really.
Okay.
So I was there shopping and looking for needed items that I have to travel with.
Yeah.
And I was around the food court.
Okay.
And I happened to turn around and saw drop dead beautiful lady walking across the mall.
Okay.
From one department store to another. I was like, whoa. I mean, she caught my attention for some reason.
Okay.
You know, so I said, okay, that's kind of well put together. Yeah. I said, so let me find out what's going on here.
Okay.
So I walked towards where she was walking at. I walked a little faster and able to pass her. And I think I was in front of JC.
Okay.
Then I was at the entrance, then turned around 360. And man, we just eye to eye contact.
Okay.
I said, whoa, she dropped dead. I said, okay. And I stretched my hand because she's already in front of me.
Right.
You know, I just stretched my hand. I said, hello. And luckily, she stretched her hand too.
Right.
I said, do I know you before? Have I met you somewhere?
Right.
She'd be like, no, you have never met me. I said, yeah, you look familiar. She said, no, you have never met me. I said, okay, my name is Desmond.
Okay.
And she said, Dori. And A minute later, I saw all the kids just run to where we stand at. They be like, oh, I said, wait a minute, are these all your kids?
That was my nephew.
Okay.
She be like, no, them two
Okay.
them other two are my brothers.
Okay.
I said, okay.
Yeah.
Let me do that as well.
Yeah.
So, and since then we just start talking.
Yeah.
We talked for a while, and I asked her what kind of plan she had for the day. She said, well, what it normally does is they switch kids every other weekend.
Okay.
She can keep her brothers 2 this weekend. The other weekend, her brother keep all 4 of the kids.
Okay. Okay.
So I said, okay, that sounds good. She said, so I said, after what are you doing after here? She said, well, I'm about to go to my mom's. And we said, wait, that's about it.
You guys have been together ever since?
Yeah, I said, okay, I'm going to hit you up.
Okay.
And after that, when I get home, I hit her again. I call her within 2 hours later.
Okay.
She be like, I'm sitting there with your mom, blah, blah. I said, you want to do anything? She be like, let me call you back. So I said, hey, we ain't gonna do much. We just gonna walk around the mall like Eastern Town Center or something like that. I said, that's all. I don't know. Just wanna get to know you a little bit.
Right.
So she said, I'll call you back. So a few minutes later, she called me. She said, okay. Then just go from there.
The rest is history.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to get your story and your perspective on the meeting because I thought it was interesting. We got Dori's perspective. I wanted to hear Desmond's perspective, and then I also wanted to ask you about the starting of the building because we kind of got into it from when Dori came in. So great. I mean, I want to thank you both for taking the time. We're gonna do a tour, and I'm gonna share the tour with you guys. If you found this interesting, I want you to hit a thumbs up. Also, write comments below if you have any questions for either Desmond or Dori. And if you're interested in staying at Stafford Lodge, the links in the description will be there for how you can book. And of course, make sure you subscribe to the channel. 70% of you guys watch these videos and don't subscribe, so make sure you subscribe. And yeah, make sure you share it with anybody who you know is traveling and visiting Sierra Leone anytime soon. So with that, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys all in the next video.
All right, so that was Dori's story and the story of Stafford Lodge. What did you guys think of the story? If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you know anybody planning to move to Sierra Leone to start a business and would like to know what that process might look like, make sure you share this with them. And then of course, if you had any questions or if there's anything you feel like I missed, make sure you put that in the comments below and we'll make sure to get you those answers to those questions. Oh, and if you're looking for a hotel to stay in, of course, and if you know anybody visiting Sierra Leone and looking for a hotel to stay in, make sure you share this video with them. So the next video you guys are gonna see is we're gonna do a tour of the Stafford Hotel. I wanted to get a full-on interview with Dori first, and then we're gonna get a tour of Stafford Hotel with Dori, her husband Desmond, and his brother Salone, and they're gonna give us a tour of the grounds of the hotel. So you actually guys get to see what the amenities look like and what you get at the hotel. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that video coming up next. So with that, guys, thanks for watching. See you all in the next video. All right, guys, if you like this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, like, comment, and share it with your friends. All right, see you on the next video.